Today, capitalism shapes every part of our society. But how far would the United States go to protect it? After World War II, the world split in two. One side feared communism and the other feared American power. But for the United States, the Cold War was not just about stopping the expansion of the Soviet Union. Instead, it was also about protecting the system built on free markets, private property, and American influence around the world. The US claimed it was protecting freedom, but in the Cold War, freedom often meant defending capitalism even when that entailed propaganda, pressure, and intervention. In Berlin, the conflict began with supply and control. When the Soviet Union blocked access to West Berlin, the United States responded with the Berlin Airlift. American planes carried food, fuel, and supplies into the city, showing that the US would not let communism win by force. On the surface, this appeared as a humanitarian action, and in some ways it was, but it was also a message, saying that the US would use its power to defend a capitalist city trapped inside Soviet influence. The airlift was not just about feeding people, it was about proving that the Americans were stronger, more committed, and more reliable. That same logic appeared in the Truman Doctrine. In 1947, President Truman declared, "The free peoples of the world look to us to support and maintaining their freedoms." The United States argued that if one country fell to communism, others would follow. He said that the United States had a responsibility to help free peoples resist coercion. But underneath that was a deeper goal. It was taking action around the world to protect its own economic and political system. In Guatemala, the Cold War became even more direct. The United States launched a coup to remove Jacobo Arbenz after his government pushed land reforms and threatened the interest of powerful American businesses such as United Fruit Company. This was presented as anti-communism, but the reality was much more complicated. When a Latin American government tried to redistribute land and limit foreign control, the US viewed it as danger. Not just political danger, but danger to capitalism itself. The CIA supported a covert operation to overthrow Arbenz, proving that the US was willing to interfere in another country's democracy if American economic interests were threatened. Then came Cuba. After Castro nationalized American-owned businesses, the United States responded with an embargo and growing pressure. The message America sent was clear. If Cuba turned away from capitalism and towards communism, the US would use economic force to punish it. That embargo was not just a trade decision, it was more of a weapon. It showed that the US would isolate an entire nation rather than allow a communist government to get too close to American influence. In Vietnam, the Cold War turned into a devastating war. The United States claimed that it was defending freedom in Southeast Asia, but the conflict grew far beyond that. The United States poured troops, money, and weapons into the war because leaders believed that losing Vietnam would weaken America and allow communism to spread across Asia. But as the war dragged on, many Americans began questioning what the US was really fighting for. In 1967, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. condemned the war, arguing that America was protecting wealth and power instead of people. He warned that the United States was refusing to give up privileges that come from the immense profits of overseas investments. King believed that America had become trapped in militarism and economic control. Millions died in Vietnam, while poverty and inequality continued at home. What started as containment turned into destruction. Entire generations were sent into battle in the name of protecting the free world. This pattern was impossible to ignore. The United States did not just fight communism, it fought to protect the global system in which American power, business, and influence remained on top. So, how far would the US go to protect capitalism? Far enough to build alliances, launch embargoes, back coups, support proxy wars, and reshape countries across the globe. The Cold War was never only about political ideology. It was about power.